Well, as promised, I decided that I'm going to do a demonstration on how I made these lilies. I showed them earlier on my blog in a card that I had made a while back, and they're really quite simple to make. They look harder than they really are. And really all it takes is the right tools. What you'll need is the new McGill brand paper punch, and this one's called the Star Lily. And when you punch it out, it'll punch out 4 petals in 4 different sizes, and this is the demonstration here of the 4 different sizes. So when you punch your paper out, you'll want to make sure that you have 6 petals. So you'll need to punch for each size. Even if you wanted to make this one, you'd have to do 6 punches with this punch of the same kind of paper. And then for however many leaves you want, in this example I just did 2, you would need to punch out 2 punches of the leaves. Okay. Then when you get them punched out, they'll look like this. And this is what I did to make them look like a lily. Let me try to zoom in a little bit here. So what I started with was I simply took, actually I just happened to have the Stampin' Up! Colors in the same color. I generally use Copic markers, but I have these, and the ink pad and the ink match, so for my purposes today it works great. And this color was rose red. I just take a Q-tip and color it. You could use a finger dauber or just about any sort of applicator. You could even use your finger, I suppose, if you wanted to. But you just want to put a little color on here. I think a chalk would probably work really well too. And that's all you do with that. And then I have this chalk ink pad made by Colorbox. I think this was in Chestnut Roan, was this color. And I'm just going to ink around the edges a little bit, just to give it that little extra. And then I'm going to take the Stampin' Up! Marker and use the fine tip end. And I'm just going to make some dots so that it gives it the speckling like the petals of a lily have. And you don't have to be very precise. It's just random. Okay. And now these new tools are very cool. There's this soft little mat that you work with. It's foamy. It's kind of like a mouse pad, really. So if you wanted to use a mouse pad, you could. And you could make these without the tools. You just need to improvise. But the tool set has these 3 styluses. Let me make sure I'm not too far in here. Okay. So it has these 3 styluses that come in varying thicknesses on the balls, and it's double-ended, and then it also comes with a set of tweezers. For my purposes today, I'm going to use the largest. And then I'm simply going to take the round ball, and I am going to just roll it around on the petals. And what this is doing is weakening the paper, softening it so that it becomes more flexible and manageable. This is quite heavy cardstock to begin with, so this is really going to soften it up and make it more pliable. Okay, now once you've gotten the petal all curled up with the stylus, we're going to form it into the petal. So we're just taking the tweezers, I'm going to grab the end and I simply just fold it up like that. Okay, there we go. So it kind of gets a little bit of a bend to it. Then I take this end, kind of curl it over, and you're just manipulating the paper a little bit to give it a little shape so it's not flat anymore and it's got a little bit more dimension to it. And then once you get that done, you go ahead and do that with all of the petals, which I have already done for the sake of time. So you have your 6 petals completed. We need to have a base to put our flower on, and I've just simply punched out this star punch. When you'll watch the tutorials online from the company that sells this paper blossom kits and things, they recommend a snowflake, but this works fine. It's what I already had. I didn't want to go buy another stamp. I keep calling them stamps, punches. To be honest, you know, if you don't have to spend the money, don't. This is all about how to make something. It's not how to sell a product. I'm not really interested in that. So anyway, you just roll that center thing around. It's going to make this little cup shape. And that's just what you need. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, since I've got my pad out, I'm going to get everything else done too. So you punch the leaves out using the same punch that you punched the petals out with. I went ahead and punched out 3. And you're simply going to treat them the same way you did the petals. Roll it around so they get nice and curvy. And I didn't ink this or chalk it or anything. You could, but I don't think I needed to for the purposes of this. And the other thing that I want to do to this leaf is I want to give it some veins so it looks like a real leaf. I'm going to take the smallest stylus. It's got this little 5mm ball, and I'm actually going to draw in some veins on my leaf. Just kind of go up like that. It's going to be very faint. Ooh, well, we're not going to use that one. Never mind. All right. And then we're just going to take the tweezers and do the same thing we did with the petals, however you like. I'm just going to make them like that. They're leaves, they're not petals, so I'll just have them look like that. Alrighty, and then the last thing is this little, I think it's a starburst. It's one of the McGill punches, and it's a great one for making the centers of your flowers. And I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to take the medium 6mm ball for this one, and I'm just going to go around, and it's going to give me the nice cupping for the flower center. Now I'm going to set this pad aside because I don't want to get glue on it. And then I just take a piece of scratch paper and I'm going to put some tacky glue down here. And I just use this cheap original tacky glue by Aleene's. It's great stuff. I've used it for years. A couple bucks a bottle. It'll last you forever. I think I've had that one a couple years. And so we just take one of our petals. We're going to dip the end in a little bit of the glue. I'm just going to lay it right down into that centerpiece. And these go together pretty fast, actually. Take another one. Put it right next to the first one. Well, you come back here, you. Take another one. I'm just going to lightly overlap them, like that. And you just continue to work your way around. And as this after this dries a bit, you'll be able to flatten it out a little bit if you don't want it to look too dimensional, especially on your cards or your scrapbook pages. If you want them to have them lay a little flat, you can press them down. But there, now we have the basic shape of the flower. And then I'm just going to take my leaf, and I'm actually going to put a little glue on the front of the side instead of the back, and we're just going to attach that like so. And we'll put one right here. And there you have a very pretty lily. I think it's very pretty. And then the final touch is to take the middle, put a little glue, and just set that down in there and let it dry. I'm just going to push it down a little bit. Normally I would let it dry before I add the last little touch, but since I don't want to wait, I'm just going to go ahead and use some diamond stickles. And you could really use anything you wanted, and you don't even really need this. But I just like adding a little extra, something special to my lily. And there you go. And that is how I created all these wonderful lilies that I have been used on my cards recently. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you give it a try. And you know, you don't really, I shouldn't say this, but you really don't have to go out and buy the stamp. You could just take paper and cut these out freehand. They don't have to be precise. You can use your own imagination. Use something that is similar to the ball end, I don't know, and a mouse pad. I think you could get the same effect if you don't want to spend the money on the tools themselves. But anyway, I hope this is helpful. Have a great day. Bye-bye.